Tag TV and Tag Radio be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Never before has technology created new opportunities for commerce. It's a vast expansion over electronic payment processing of the past. Today's merchants have more control than ever over customer buying experience. Customer data, integrated inventory. No, not just keeping track of cash flow. It's about keeping track of customer preferences, sending out coupons and targeted promotions, and even handheld terminals that enable the sale process wherever customers are. No lines, no waiting. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 29, 2013, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Scan the product's integrated barcode reader, swipe a card through the cradle, and the customer signs. Not pen to paper, a screen with a finger. Up to the Tech Talk? Technology and service. To be competitive in consumer payment processing today and in the future? Well, they're both a priority. The Tech Talk gets a completely integrated bank card processing platform leader, Priority Payment Systems, to share industry insights and competitive advantages as we meet John Priore, President and CEO of industry leader, growing in market share and reputation for innovation in both technology and service. John's experience in the bank card industry spans well over 2 decades. Prior to forming Priority, he was Executive Vice President of Financial Systems for Ingenico, an international developer of credit and debit card point-of-sale equipment. For 5 years earlier, he was Senior Vice President and General Manager of individual sales for Nova Information Systems, third largest processor in the United States. Prior to Nova, John served as Divisional Vice President for Card Service International and also was with First Data as a district manager. He began his bank card career as a territory manager with American Express travel-related services. John heads an elite team of executives, each with a long history in the bank card processing business, averaging 20-plus years each, all dedicated and with a strong reputation of integrity, responsiveness, and professionalism. Up to the Tech Talk, Priority in using knowledge to provide innovation and next-generation solutions, the challenges and the opportunities of global commerce transaction as we explore today and beyond in payment processing with Priority Payment Processing, founder, president, and CEO, John Priore. John, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you, Frank. It's good to be here.
Priority, I guess it's a name that you've enjoyed, but I tell you that if anyone knows the company and the services that you provide, I can't think of a better word to describe it, and certainly even the pressure and the demand that's on your clients. Let's talk a little bit about the payments industry. Let's talk a little bit about retailing, the evolution of technology, and the impact of things like credit card processing and the whole idea of how transactions are done. I'll start with give us kind of a perspective of maybe the last few years and how, from your industry, the whole area has changed.
Yeah, when you look at particularly the last 3 to 5 years in the payment space, technology has created a lot of opportunity and certainly a lot of change. Mobile strategy, the tablet-facing solutions that are out there, iPad, Droid, things like that service the not only the small to mid-size merchant, but also the large regional and national merchants around the country.
You know, one of the funny things, I think there's probably not too many of us that haven't dealt with online purchasing or online customer service. I think I heard an expert speak one time, and they said when they say customer service, that's just exactly what it's not. what I mean is that I think it's kind of an unusual policy that you guys have in terms of the personal approach that you take to merchant clients in terms of making sure that they're serviced properly. Go into a little bit about that philosophy.
Sure. Customer service is paramount in our business, and from Priority's perspective, our goals are to pick the phone up in 1 to 4 rings. The importance there is you've got a live person on the phone. It's a solutions-based call. The goals there are, again, not just picking the phone up, but resolving any concerns or questions that the merchant has. At the end of the day, we're in the retention business, and when you've got that opportunity to resolve a challenge that a merchant has, and you do it in a time-effective manner, they appreciate that. They're also, when you look at some of the competition out there, these merchants, the Priority merchants, are not calling abroad into other parts of the world, and again, they're not in any IVR or call center environment where, again, you're kind of stuck and you're not getting the service that you're looking for.
I just had a roadside service issue over the weekend, and I was talking to the roadside service, and I asked the person where they were, and they were in the Philippines. So I think it's a case where I think we've all gotten, hard conditioned to the fact that you almost expect that you're not going to get someone to answer promptly, and that ideally that individual isn't necessarily right here or close by and has a competency beyond, say, 20 questions or something that they can pose or respond to. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier about technology. I think that one of the things that obviously is across the spectrum of all the sectors, and that is that we've gone digital, we've gone mobile. The speed of content and the gathering of information, analytics have become such critically important. Talk a little bit about that. I'm understanding that part of what Priority does isn't just the issue of handling the payments, but actually sort of being kind of a support mechanism behind that merchant. Maybe go into a little bit about the technology and how it supports the clients that you have.
Sure. Frank, I would tell you where we differentiate ourselves from our competitors is that we built our technology, we own it, we own the code, and as you had expressed, it's really the sharing of data that separates us from our competition and allows us to service the merchant accordingly. Currently today, we have over 300 resellers that sell direct to the merchant and represent themselves as Priority Payment Systems. They in turn need to help that merchant, whether it's with setup, boarding the merchant. Here, once that merchant is boarded electronically, the reporting that goes along with that. We underwrite that merchant. We do the risk monitoring and loss mitigation collections if need be.
That's
customer
huge.
Service and technical support notes.
That's huge. I mean, obviously, cash flow is critical to a small business, especially a retail small business. And so what you're saying, it allows them to really focus on their core competency. And with the initial consulting, the actual relationship that gets built, the technology that gets presented and then ultimately implemented, and then the support mechanism, turnkey. I mean, I think it's a case where you have sort of an assurance that, as you point out, is kind of not necessarily something you're going to find around the corner at the next competitor.
No, that's a true statement, and I would tell you myself, many of our senior staff have been in this business 20 to 25 years. So, along the timeline, we've seen what has worked out there and what hasn't worked, quite frankly. And again, what we feel where we differentiate ourselves is really delivering not only the message but the actionable data to the merchant in their retail store or restaurant or wherever they reside. And again, it allows them to answer any questions they might have of the transactional data or the technical expertise.
I think the joke of the day is almost whatever you want to say, and then somebody could say there's an app for that. I'm going to show my naivete here, but how do you deal with the relationship when you are, in effect, the priority? Let's say you're the dominant infrastructure, and that retailer's being inundated by other technologies that are telling you this is going to be, I can get more big data analytics, I can get you couponing, I can get you discounting, do you have some form of way that allows them to either consider those kind of things, or do you advise them on how to integrate that, or do you actually look for kind of best of breed to bring upgrades to them?
Frank, it's a combination of both, really. We have built some of that technology and software code in-house on the loyalty side, for example, and yet you do have to partner with institutional partners, or what we've done, Priority has chosen to do is leveraging our relationships with MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, companies like that do have the big data, as you called it, and it allows us, again, to help that merchant with respect to maybe frequent diners in a restaurant environment or frequent shoppers in a retail environment. And again, sharing that data, bringing it collectively together to ultimately drive revenue and what I would say consumer behavior into that merchant to drive more volume, more revenue to the merchant base.
I guess that's kind of where I was going with that question, a little convoluted, but the bottom line of it is that it isn't just anymore about payments. It's got to do with the whole in ecosystem, I guess, and do you stay proprietary and only provide but to provide the infrastructure, or, one of the questions obviously that is going to be kind of fun to ask you is about the future. I mean, I would think that the area of payments, we're kind of pushing the envelope to where that can go, but in the area of data and how to utilize the entire ecosystem, unlimited. So maybe kind of go into a little bit about how do you see the future and what role Priority is going to play in that future?
Priority's role in the future is really a balance, continued balance, if you will, between what we call priority acquiring, which is acquiring merchants either organically or through mergers and acquisitions, and then working alongside that with what we call our business solutions team. Those are the folks that work on the more of a business-to-business environment with large financial institutions, community banks that we have in the space.
Oh, okay.
And again, the associations.
So actually, you
that I would say to you, Frank, is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to make a point that it's the future is not just here, but also internationally, right? So we can take what's best practices here and that have worked in the States for us for years, take that technology along with those practices and look at other environments throughout Europe and certainly other countries.
Well, I'm fascinated because if I'm understanding, again, I'll fall back on my inexperience here, but the fact that you not only go direct to the merchant, but you go to people like the financial institutions that deal with merchants and collaborate with them in the same way that you might say with the credit cards? Or is credit card even a proper term anymore? I'm not sure what we would call a Visa.
Yes, and we do. We have multiple what I would call referral sources and or distribution channels, and they are the traditional ones that are financial institutions, both large and small. But there are software technology companies today that want to integrate a payment solutions, for example. So we'll work alongside with them and integrate the Priority solution into their software that allows their end user to take credit cards as a form of payment, or any and all cash and non-cash transactions.
We used to say fluid, then we said dynamic fluidity. I think what you're describing gets a little bit phantasmagoric. I mean, if you're trying to keep up with all of I used to think the merchant had a problem. Actually, if you're the vendor, and especially in this case, Priority, to keep up with all of the ramifications in order to make sure. One of the things I guess I'm leaning towards is reactive or proactive, or a little bit of both. Do your merchants and your client base depend on you to look at some of these things, or are you just, not just, but again, prepared to react when something new or different comes on the scene?
We're positioned to certainly react, and we have done that with our IT team that's based here in Alpharetta. And yet we have to be proactive. And I would tell you, working with some of the institutional partners allows you to be very proactive on bringing together their thoughts and ideas and the direction that they're going in, whether it be on the issuing or acquiring side. It allows us to partner with them and stay in front of it, and then take those ideas and technology associated with it and drive it down through our distribution channels. So to answer your question, I would say it's a little of both.
I guess I was kind of fascinated when you talked about international, and I would think your technology is borderless, and that a lot of cases what happens to the, again being primitive here, but the Burger King that operates in Alpharetta is going to be happening to the Burger King that operates in Beijing, and how they do their processing and payments and collections and all of the other ramifications kind of remain similar. Not too much culture, I guess. Is that naive, or do you, when you think about expanding internationally, do you really have any barriers other than the efficiency and the economy of scale and the technological advantage that you already present here domestically?
No, I don't believe there are barriers, to your point. Although I would tell you, in some countries, it's imperative to be domicile in the market, and yet there are countries that are certainly as advanced as the states, and in some cases more advanced. Yet when you do go internationally, there are certainly different rules and regulations that you have to operate by, different cost and expense structures. So there's a lot to it. You just don't decide you're going to go international. And yet, I would tell you with our business partnerships and TAG being one of those, that's certainly on the horizon. Today we do process Canadian or in Canada and do process some some international traffic. But we look forward to the future and really having tremendous opportunities over in Europe, for example.
When I think of something like Fred DeLuca and Subway, where you're talking 38,000 restaurants all across the world, that's still physical plants. Virtualization, online, do you get involved in that at all? And maybe drift into that just a little bit in terms of, I think all of us are conscious of e-shopping and online shopping and online retailing, and it's pretty much getting more and more momentum with each passing year. Does that play a factor in your particular market?
It does, and that's a great point. When I look at Priority's evolution into international business, it was large merchants that took us cross-border, and it is, I would say, driven by certain verticals. To your point, it could be a quick-serve restaurant, it could be oil companies. There's just a multitude of the merchant base, if you will, that is going to take you international. And I would tell you that our goals are to certainly look at the virtual availability of doing so, and the gateway traffic, driving as much as we can to certainly the secure gateways, and one of them being our own gateway. So that's how we'll approach it, and I'll say it, start small and grow our way into bigger opportunities.
And again, as we continue to pull back the onion skin, I'm always fascinated by how complex and how dynamic and how much challenge, but also how much opportunity almost every sector of technology plays. And as you're talking, we didn't even get into the idea of security, and I'm sure that plays a major role. Unfortunately, as really the good and interesting topics have a tendency to do, the time has gone by quickly. John, Priority certainly is a leader without question. I think some of the things you're doing, I want to say maybe proprietary, technology-wise, software-wise, sure, I get that. But I think from the standpoint of the approach and the service function, and I think the unique concepts that you've got in terms of knowing and understanding the market you serve, Priority, again, it's a great name, and obviously it fits the company to a T. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm excited for you, excited for the opportunities of Priority, and also I'm grateful for the time that you've shared with us, taking a few minutes to be on Tech Talk today.
Thank you, Frank. We appreciate the opportunity.